by floods after houses and bridges were swept away in Kibra and Kayaba slums in Nairobi. The BBI Secretariat insists the BBI referendum is still on course, vowing to move to the Court of Appeal to overturn the verdict that declared the BBI process illegal. Plus, BBI opponents led by Baringo County MCAs take to the streets to celebrate the ruling of the 5-judge bench of the High Court that nullified the Constitution Amendment Bill. And Kisii Governor James Ongwae claims 50 police officers stormed his home last night in a politically instigated raid for supporting the ODM candidate in the upcoming Bonchari by-election. Welcome to the broadcast. Mini Mbesa is our sign language interpreter. TV47 weekend begins right now. A day after a 5-judge bench ruled that the Building Bridges Initiative BBI process was unconstitutional, null and void, the future of the initiative now hangs in the balance. Legal experts, however, insist that the Friday night judgment that came as a bitter pill for BBI proponents, among them President Uhuru Kenyatta and ODM leader Raila Odinga, was a possibility, given the multiple legal blunders committed along the BBI journey. But could the mistakes have been avoided? And what's next for the now stopped BBI tune? David Mudoka has the details.
For 5 hours on a rainy Friday evening, a 5-judge bench presided over by Justice Joel Ngugi at the Milimani Law Courts took turns in dropping legal bombshells on the BBI process.
We are going to read our conclusions and findings.
The process that had been in the works for 4 years was on its home stretch when the 5 High Court judges, namely Teresia Matheka, George Odunga, Joel Ngugi, Jairus Ngaah and Chacha Mwita, in a similar tune stopped it dead in its tracks while terming the BBI initiative unconstitutional, illegal, null and void. This meant that the BBI bill, after being endorsed overwhelmingly by county assemblies, the National Assembly and the Senate, will not be subjected to a referendum as anticipated. Seemingly, the 500-page judgment dealt a death blow to President Uhuru Kenyatta and ODM party leaders Raila Odinga's bid to amend the constitution, on the very verge of doing so. But what chain of events led to the BBI shocker, and could it have been avoided? In the submissions, the judges cited multiple legal blunders that spoiled the BBI broth, top on the list being the president's involvement in the push to amend the constitution through a popular initiative.
The power to amend the constitution through the popular initiative route under Article 257 of the constitution is reserved for the private citizen, for Wanjiku only. Neither the president nor any state organ is permitted under our constitution to initiate constitutional amendments using the popular initiative route.
The bench went on to outline other glaring mistakes that made the BBI process a legal suicide mission. For instance, the 14-member BBI task force and steering committee was found to be an illegal entity, while the BBI process lacked public participation as required by the Constitution 4 years since its inception. The court further ruled that the IEBC did not have quorum and capacity to verify BBI signatures, let alone conduct a referendum, while also insisting that the proposal within the BBI bill for the creation of 70 new constituencies was a blatant act of usurping IEBC powers.
Now, when all these things were not done, it is unforgivable. And I think the president, either two things, either he doesn't listen to legal advice, or there was serious incompetence of those who were advising him. This problem had a lot of soft underbellies.
And while the High Court found that the president had violated Chapter 6 of the Constitution on leadership and integrity by attempting to change the supreme law through unconstitutional means, does that mean the head of state might find himself on the dock?
The president can be sued in his or her personal capacity during his or her tenure in office, except for actions or omissions in respect of anything done or not done in the exercise of his or her powers under the Constitution.
According to Kibe, the judgment did not catch anyone within legal circles by surprise, citing how ghosts of the past might be coming back to haunt the head of state in his sunset months at the helm of the country.
Even if you go to the Court of Appeal, it's the same judiciary. I expect a lot of hostility. At individual level, remember the issues of the 41 judges. 2 of those judges, Justice Odunga and Justice Ngoge, and you can see a lot of their imprint in these. They are the scholarly types.
Whether the president shot himself in the foot or not, by refusing to appoint the 41 judges to the Court of Appeal, all eyes will be trained on the very court that could either seal BBI's fate or offer the BBI journey a lifeline.
I honestly do not see which bench of the Court of Appeal, unless there are people who want to put their careers on the line for the president and for BBI, who would actually be able to reverse in entirety.
David Muthoka, TV47.
Thank you, David Muthoka, for that report. Now, the 5-judge bench that declared the BBI constitutional amendment process null and void has been lauded for throwing the BBI bill out of the window on Thursday. Kenyans in several parts of the country took to the streets to celebrate the ruling, forcing the police to use tear gas to disperse the crowds in some areas. According to some of those we spoke to, the BBI process is political and Kenyans had not been engaged in the process. However, Tanga allied leaders have asked President Uhuru Kenyatta and Attorney General Kihara Kariuki to resign for allegedly misleading the country. Thursday's 5-hour televised petition, in which a 5-judge bench of the High Court declared the BBI constitutional amendment process illegal and unconstitutional decision against the executive.
I want to take this opportunity.
According to the judges, President Kenyatta violated the constitution by initiating a popular initiative which ought to have been started by ordinary citizens. The bench has also ruled that the BBI Constitutional Committee, a body created by President Kenyatta, was illegal, adding that Kenyatta had failed the leadership and integrity test.
Because there are only 2 ways you can amend the constitution: through parliamentary initiative and through popular initiative. The court pronounced itself that His Excellency the President Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta and the Right Honorable Raila Odinga cannot turn themselves into a popular initiative, because there is no way a president can be anything else.
Arguably the most significant ruling by a Kenyan court since the nullification of President Uhuru Kenyatta's election in 2017, the High Court decision has resonated with the public, claiming that the proposed constitutional amendment would increase their cost of living.
Na support mahakama kwa sababu hata mimi mwenyewe sijapata kopi BBI moja hata nisome nijue ni nini imeandikwa hapo ndani.
Sisi wajiko sasa tulikuwa tunanyanyaswa na hii mambo ya BBI ambayo hata kuna wajiko hata mmoja hapa mkaaji wa Mukoyo na Muranga hajaisoma, hakuna mwenye ameisoma.
Hii ni mzigo inakuja kwa wananchi na imejua kwamba wananchi wataumia, ndio maana koti imekataa hiyo maneno.
Those on the other side of the political divide could not hide their joy either. Baringo members of County Assembly, who were the first to reject the BBI bill in the Assembly, trooped to the streets of Kabarnet town, singing songs of praise, taking pride in their decision to shoot down the bill to top the list of the only 3 counties to reject the bill.
Ilionekana Baringo walikataa kupishwa, kufungwa macho, wakasimama na msimamo ya ukweli kusema no. Mnakumbuka Baringo siku ile tulifanya maandamano hapa na tukasema reggae must stop. Reggae ilisimama haikusimama? Ilisimama haikusimama?
The rally soon got hot when police officers lobbed tear gas at the growing crowd. However, with the High Court judges warning that President Kenyatta could be sued and their declaration creating the grounds to impeach Kenyatta, the unrelenting MCAs asked Kenyatta and Attorney General Kihara Kariuki to step down.
Kihara hakuadvise rais kwa njia nzuri. Tunataka kusema kwamba huyo mtu sahizi angekuwa nyumbani. David Cameron alipoleta mambo ya Brexit na ilipoanguka aliresign peacefully. Kwa hivyo naomba rais resign kwa sababu ajenda yake ilianguka.
Questions on whether Attorney General Kihara Kariuki has soundly been advising President Kenyatta or not, Deputy President William Ruto's allies claim President Kenyatta has been locking out leaders with contrary opinions, raising eyebrows on Kenyatta's leadership strategy.
All the people in the political scene that have got divergent views in one way or another have been edged out.
So many of the members here, Kina Usuru, we have been running up and down trying to speak one message. You cannot make the constitution making process your own baby, because the document belongs to Kenyans.
Now, the BBI Secretariat says it will appeal the ruling by High Court, which saw the BBI process pronounced unconstitutional and marred by illegalities as per the 5-judge bench. The Secretariat further says a referendum will go on as planned this year, although lawyers have ruled the possibility, or rather have ruled out the possibility of having a referendum soon.
Despite the tough ruling by the High Court, which trashed the BBI process, describing it as one marred by irregularities and illegalities, the BBI Secretariat now says the buck stops with the Court of Appeal, where they are headed next week.
As law-abiding leaders, we respect the decision of the court, but we don't agree with it. Consequently, we are setting up a legal team to look into and appeal the ruling.
The Secretariat further accused Deputy President William Ruto's allies of interference with High Court ruling, which they say was constitutional, sentiments echoed by proponents of BBI who accused judges of attacking President Uhuru Kenyatta in their ruling.
These are beneficiaries of the status quo who are determined to stand on the way of reforms. This is the unholy marriage between Tanga, civil society, and a section of the judiciary. We note the celebration of the ruling by politicians and civil society operators who have dismissed BBI from the word go.
The legality of the whole process being the bone of contention between the BBI proponents and judiciary. Lawyer Kioko Kilukumi opines that despite the appeal by Secretariat, the buck stops with the Supreme Court, if not Court of Appeal.
As we speak today, with the High Court judgment is dead and buried, there cannot be any referendum now until and unless the judgment is reversed by the Court of Appeal and affirmed, the reversal affirmed by the Supreme Court. So what I can say in a summary, the last word will come from the Supreme Court of Kenya on this issue of BBI.
The 5-judge bench ruled the BBI Secretariat as unconstitutional, raising queries on the popular initiative process and its initiation. Further, the bench ruled that IEBC is unconstitutional. Lawyer Kioko Kilukumi says referendum is not feasible this year.
And if you listen to the judges, they gave about 4 different components that must be satisfied for this to be popular initiative. You need civic education, you need public participation, you need people meeting and discussing. I think that is the route if you want it to be a popular initiative. Now, for as long as that judgment stays the way it is, we must comply. If you want to do things differently, then you will need that judgment either to be reversed or an higher court to give a different way of doing it.
With temperatures rising within political class pertaining yesterday's ruling on BBI report and process, still the fate of referendum this year still lies within the same courts. Elizabeth Muchuko, TV47 Nairobi.
Well, away from matters politics, but still on matters the judiciary, President Uhuru Kenyatta has appointed Justice William Mauko as Supreme Court judge following his nomination by the Judicial Service Commission. Mauko is set to replace retired Judge Jackton Ojwang, as Zainab Mohammed now reports.
In a Gazette notice dated 13th May, President Uhuru Kenyatta has appointed Justice William Ouko as Supreme Court judge. This is after Ouko passed a rigorous interviewing process by the Judicial Service Commission and emerged the top candidate among 7 other applicants. The appointment paves way for Ouko's swearing in as the judge of the Apex Court. Before his appointment, Justice William Ouko was the president of the Court of Appeal, where he served alongside Chief Justice Designate Lady Justice Martha Koome. Koome is awaiting confirmation by the National Assembly and appointment by President Uhuru Kenyatta to assume the reins of the Chief Justice and the President of the Supreme Court. The departure of the two from the Court of Appeal will leave the second highest court in Kenya seriously understaffed. Already, the JSC has been struggling to equip the Court of Appeal with enough judges, but with little success. President Uhuru Kenyatta's refusal to appoint 41 judges seconded to him by retired Chief Justice David Maraga compounded the staffing challenge in the Court of Appeal. Justice Ouko will fill the gap left by Judge Jackton Ojwang, who retired as judge of the Supreme Court for 14 months. Zainab Mohammed, TV47.
Well, thank you, Zainab Mohammed, for that report. From the Solai Dam tragedy on the 9th of May 2018 in Nakuru County, where at least 48 people died after the dam burst amid heavy rains, it seems the Kenyan government and its citizens don't take that lesson seriously to be able to detect and curb future disasters. And as Daniel Masiza now reports, another danger in the form of Nairobi Dam alongside Nairobi River is stalking Kenyans, but those living in the wake of the lurking danger are unmoved.
Welcome to the famous Nairobi Dam along the Nairobi River. The reservoir was built in the early 1950s to provide backup water supply to downtown Nairobi. But 70 years later, the dam has deteriorated to almost irredeemable levels, posing a threat to humans and ecosystems. Here, residents of Langata and Kibra constituencies that border the reservoir have been transforming its tributaries into residential communities and farming fields. Another risky affair is the incomplete Lindi Bypass Bridge in Kibra South along the Ngong River, 2 kilometers from the Nairobi Dam. Here, the contractor did not bother to place grills on the makeshift bridge. At Mukuru Kayaba area, still along the Ngong River, slum dwellers have set up tin houses right at the course of the river, oblivious of the lurking danger. The question is, when will the citizens and the government learn and implement lessons from past disasters? The heavy downpour being experienced in many parts of the country is projected to continue for at least 2 weeks. Daniel Masiza, TV47.
Well, Daniel Masiza's report takes us to a short commercial break, but we'll be back with more. Stay tuned.
Raukia siku njema na tunukiwa offers kila siku. Pata offers zote mahali pamoja ili uongeze zaidi, utume SMS zaidi na ubrowse zaidi.
Wewe usijali. Tuma namba ya kila supplier kwa hiyo soko. Nitajoble nitaongea na kila mmoja wao.
Very good. Piga *444# utunukiwe Credo double.
Raukia siku njema na tunukiwa offers kila siku.
Oh, hi. It's not what you're thinking. It's a cup of coffee. Coffee, movie. Together, Coffee with Movie. Every Sunday, 8 p.m. on TV47, where we bring you interesting, enticing people. Well, we've concentrated on musicians.
Yeah.
Yeah. Producers.
So now I manage, because talent management and events management, I think was my passion.
Right about now, we want to go beyond to the counties and to other countries. I'll see you. Let the sun stand still like Joshua time for 3 hours, but this time for only 1 hour. We bring you Coffee with Movie. Interesting, enticing guests. I'll see you. Tunaanza tuna Mombasa, Kisumu, Nakuru, twende Uganda, Magufuli Land, TZ, you never know. It is Coffee with Movie. Jua unaweza enda sasa.
Okay.
Before the markets open, farmers begin their day, each with a desire to produce the best. But how can they increase the numbers, maintain the standards,
Aitoi ile garlic inafaa itoi, that standard garlic.
reduce the cost,
we spread our risk,
and yet remain the best? Kilimo Diaries, every Sunday when the clock hits 7:30 p.m. The story continues to unfold. The race to win Abel's heart continues.
Huyo mwanamke ataniona, Abel is mine. Mwanamke mgani, ni nani huyo na nini mbaya?
The betrayal.
Manze chinja huko, hakuna blanda. Sasa ni huyu yule madam pale hivi. Sasa
And the secrets.
Jenny, si nikwambia napenda Abel. Nampenda tena sana. Lakini nashindwa venye nitaanza. Lakini nashindwa nitaanza aje.
Usichekeshe.
You are watching TV47, the home of untold stories.
Welcome back. You're watching TV47 Weekend. Keep talking to us. 22047 is our SMS line. You can also find us on social media, TV47 Kenya on Facebook, as well as at TV47K on Twitter. The hashtag to use is TV47KE. Now, at least 5 people have died within Nairobi in the last 24 hours following the floods that have continued to sweep various parts of the country. 2 people died in Mukuru Kayaba after a bridge they were crossing over was swept away. 3 others died in Kibra under similar circumstances as heavy rains continue to wreak havoc across the country. Lekishon Laban with the details.
The ongoing heavy rains in the country have continued to cause death and destruction in their wake. Floods following last night's heavy downpour in Nairobi have killed at least 5 people, with thousands rendered homeless. 2 young men at Mukuru Kayaba along the Dreams Bridge in Landmawe Ward died after a bridge they were crossing was swept away by the raging waters. Tens of houses in the slum were flooded, rendering many people homeless. Humanitarian aid is now a matter of urgency in the area.
Juzi msichana ulipotia Kenya Wine akapatikana huko bando wa Ruben. Jana usiku mimi nilibigiwa saa 8 nikaamuka nikakuta vijana wawili kibebo na maji. Sitaokoa kwa sababu nashindwa kuokoa, hata mimi mwenyewe itabebo.
Lakini tumehuzunika sana kwa sababu tumepoteza wapendwa wetu. Na hii daraja ilikuwa imebomoka kutoka kitambo. Na kuna watu, tuko na serikali, tuko na MCA, tuko na machiefs, lakini hawashughuliki. Watoto wangepita pale juu, mabati imekaa hivi, wakipita hivi wanakatwa. Inabidi wapite hapa.
Kenya Red Cross Society officials say they are assessing the situation to determine the amount of help that is needed. At least 6,000 households have been affected.
One of the key essential things that I'm very keen on is the children under 5 years and the persons living with disability and the elderly that are living in this particular area. So one of the things that our teams are currently doing is to be able to ferry these people to higher levels, because these are the people who are highly at risk.
Area leaders, including Landmawe MCA Haman Masabu, wants the residents to be vacated to safer grounds, but residents say they have no other home to be, as this is the only home they know.
We are estimating at 6,500 households have been affected by these floods. And we have appealed to them to move to higher grounds. Yes.
Kwa hivyo tuna advise, tunaongea na machief, waongee na watu hapa. Watoke katika ukingoni wa hii mto wa Ngong.
And in Kibra, one of the largest city slums, at least 3 people have died as heavy rains led to the flooding that swept away the Lind Bridge. The 3 died as they were attempting to cross over the bridge. The 3 from Kibra and 2 others from Kuru Kayaba makes at least 5 a total who have died of floods in the last 24 hours.
Munisaidie, nateseka na watoto, hata usiku hata silali mafuriko ikianza. Tunakaa ilianza saa 12 mpaka asubuhi.
And outside the city of Nairobi, other parts, especially the western parts of the country, have continued to be hit by the heavy rains. Residents of Sibembe in Buhayo area of Busia County have been rendered homeless as well. They say the floods have rendered them hopeless.
Mama Florence, Mlanya na Bonvenja Makora wakanisaidia saizi, niko na nyumba, najisikia vizuri, nitalela vizuri, sitanyeshewa. Nilikuwa na wasiwasi sijui niende nihamie wapi, lakini sasa ninashukuru, ninafurahi chungu mzima.
The weatherman says that the rains will continue at least for the next 1 month. Countrywide effects of the floods continue to remain a crisis as more than 50,000 people are affected so far. Lekishon Laban, TV47.
Well done, Lekishon Laban. Now, President Uhuru Kenyatta and his predecessor Mwai Kibaki have sent messages of condolence to the family and friends of Public Service Commission Chairman Stephen Kinyanjui Kirogo. Kirogo passed on today at a Nairobi hospital. In his message to the family, President Kenyatta remembered the late Kirogo as a distinguished public servant who contributed immensely to the transformation of Kenya's public service. Retired President Mwai Kibaki remembered Kirogo as a gentleman known for his multiple skills and one with vast networks within and outside government. Now, Kisii Governor James Ongwae claims about 50 police officers raided his home in Kisii last night for unclear reasons. Governor Ongwae says the officers broke down the gate to his home at about 7:30 in the evening in an apparent move to intimidate him for supporting the ODM candidate in the Bonchari by-election.
Thursday night saw police in Kisii storm into Governor James Ongwae's home, disrupting his get-together with other leaders from the Orange Democratic Movement Party. The county boss now accuses the Interior Cabinet Secretary Fred Matiang'i of political witch hunt. Speaking to members of the fourth estate in Kisii, the county boss claimed that armed security agents raiding his home is intimidation over his decision to back the ODM candidate in the upcoming Bonchari constituency by-election.
About 50 of them with a Tia Maria vehicle, and they actually broke down my gate and came in that I was having a meeting in my house before the curfew hours were up. When the police were asked, they said that they had been given instructions from somebody who is very senior in the office of in the Ministry of Interior.
So we are not supporting any party. We are neutral and we are providing security for all.
That is not the way to run a country.
Other leaders who condemned the raid were Kisii Senator Sam Ongeri, Kisii Women Rep Janet Ongera, and ODM Party SG Edwin Sifuna.
You cannot come and disturb orderly people. This is a campaign period. The campaign window is still on until Saturday. And therefore, every candidate has a right to persuade voters to vote their direction. In this case, I have a right to persuade the voters to vote for my candidate, Engineer Omeke, whom I believe.
I'm demanding from IBC
to tell us why did they set up a by-election and they cannot allow us to do voter mobilization.
That if Matungu was a slap in the face, Bonchari is going to be the straw that breaks the camel's back.
In a separate forum, UDA-affiliated leaders also condemned the government for using the police to frustrate their campaigns. Bonchari constituency by-elections are slated for Tuesday, the 18th of May. Grace Josephine for TV47.
Now, the National Council of Churches of Kenya, NCCK Western Region, has urged the EACC to root out corruption in the country that has escalated to the county governments. Led by their chair, Benson Shisia, NCCK says it's sad to see mega corruption scandals in the country at the expense of devolution. Take a look.
Speaking after their annual meeting in Kakamega Town, NCCK Western Chapter Chair Benson Shisia noted that the current wave of graft allegations has cascaded to the county government, urging EACC to take action on agents of corruption at all levels.
Kuna jambo ambalo liligatuliwa linaitwa ufisadi. Likatoka kule juu likaja katika gatuzi. Na jambo hili limeharibu usimamizi. Kwa hivyo kamati hii inatoa mwito kwa wale wanaohusika na hata kutenda kazi kuweza kuashiria sura ya 6 ya katiba yetu ya Kenya ambayo inasema kwamba uadilifu uweze kuendelea.
The council has also expressed disappointment on how COVID funds were used in both national and county government, asking church leaders to follow laid down protocols to prevent the spread of COVID-19.
Shirika hili linatoa mwito kwa makanisa yote kuweza kuzingatia mambo hayo ili waweze kuwa ya kwamba corona haiwezi kupata watu wetu. Na pamoja na hayo yote, serikali kuu pamoja na serikali za ugatuzi nazo pia zinaulizwa zikatumie vema fedha ambazo zimetolewa kuweza kulinda janga hili la corona.
The council has also called on the government to revive factories that collapsed in Western region, that in order to provide jobs and spur economic development in the region.
Lazima tuweze kuamsha viwanda ambavyo vimeanguka katika gatuzi hili ili viweze kusimama vikasaidie wananchi katika eneo hili kwa masuala ya kifedha.
This comes at a time when many factories in the region, especially those in the sugar sector, are grappling with financial debts and imminent dissolution. Violet Sauma, TV47, Kakamega.
Well, TV47 takes another short commercial break, but we'll be back with more. Remember, you can follow this live broadcast on www.tv47.co.ke.
Raukia siku njema na tunukiwa offers kila siku. Pata offers zote mahali pamoja ili uongee zaidi, utume SMS zaidi na ubrowse zaidi.
Wewe usijali. Tuma namba ya kila supplier kwa hiyo soko. Ndio nitaongea na kila mmoja wao.
Very good. Piga *444# utunukiwe Credo double.
Raukia siku njema na tunukiwa offers kila siku.
Oh, hi. It's not what you're thinking. It's a cup of coffee. Coffee, movie. Together, Coffee with Movie. Every Sunday, 8 p.m. on TV47, where we bring you interesting, enticing people. Well, we've concentrated on musicians.
Yeah.
Producers.
So now I manage, because talent management and events management, I think was my passion.
Right about now, we want to go beyond to the counties and to other countries. Out here, let the sun stand still like Joshua Times for 3 hours, but this time for only 1 hour. We bring you Coffee with Movie. Interesting, enticing guests. Out here, tunaweza anza tuna Mombasa, Kisumu, Nakuru, twende Uganda, Magufuli Land, TZ, you never know. It is Coffee with Movie. Jua unaweza enda sasa.
Okay.
Before the markets open, farmers begin their day, each with a desire to produce the best. But how can they increase the numbers, maintain the standards,
Aitoi ile garlic inafaa itoi, that standard garlic.
reduce the cost,
We spread our risk.
and yet remain the best? Kilimo Diaries, every Sunday when the clock hits 7:30 p.m. The story continues to unfold. The race to win Abel's heart continues.
Huyo mwanamke ataniona. Abel is my mwanamke mgani? Ni nani huyo na nini mbaya?
The betrayal.
Manze chinja hakuna blanda. Sasa ndio huyo yule madam pale hivi. Sasa
And the secrets.
Jenny, si nikwambia napenda Abel. Nampenda tena sana. Lakini nashindwa venye nitaanza. Lakini nashindwa nitaanza aje.
Usichekeshe.
Plan Ya Siri every Saturday at 8 p.m. Did you know that your business keeps our economy running?
You need the skill, not the papers.
Always tell yourselves, one day at a time. You can't do everything under one roof.
over time I've had to realize that good things take time.
The Grind, every Monday at 7:30. You are watching TV47, the home of untold stories.
Welcome back. You are watching TV47 Weekend. Now, representatives of over 3,000 integrated internally displaced persons from Naivasha sub-county have given the government a 7-day ultimatum to resettle or compensate them. The IDPs say they will take to the streets to protest government neglect if their demands are not met. Our reporter Willie Dennis Njiru has this and more from Naivasha.
Speaking during a press briefing in Naivasha town, the displaced person sub-county leader Samuel Oduor accused the government of neglecting them and failing to address their plight. Oduor says they have made numerous attempts to reach the concerned authorities, but tangible assistance has been forthcoming.
Wakatupea shilingi 50,000 kila mtu. Baada ya hapo walituambia watarudi watupe pesa kama wale waathiriwa wengine.
Waathiriwa walioathirika Naivasha walipewa shilingi 10,000 wengine, na wengine hawakupewa hata 10,000. Hiyo mahema ikavunjwa, watu wakaambiwa warudi nyumbani.
50,000 vile walitulipa mpaka wa leo, hatujaona kitu ingine mpaka wa leo. Wanatuahidi pesa inakuja, pesa inakuja.
Oduor says they will resort to peaceful street protest to compel the government to heed to their plea. He accused the government of failing to comply with the IDP Act of 2012 in resettling some of the internally displaced persons.
Tusipopata haki yetu kwa siku 7, tutatuma kikosi yetu huko juu iwakujie, na mukikujiwa musione sisi ni wabaya.
Kuna watu walikuwa na plot ziliharibiwa hapa Naivasha, sasa zilichomwa, wamerudi wana rent.
We wish to remind both governments of our efforts to be resettled has never been forthcoming, as the matter keep on going round into circles.
Whoever was in the initial register was given what was due to them.
They called on the national government to be more candid, saying the government should not hide its head in the sand like proverbial ostrich and wish away the issue of integrated persons.
Na tunajua Mheshimiwa Rais ulisema pesa ya kumalizana na maneno ya waathiriwa wa ndani kwa ndani iko, lakini hiyo pesa waathiriwa waipati.
Kama ni kuwapea mashamba, iwape. Kama ni ile kiasi ya pesa ilipakia, iwape.
The 2007-2008 post-election violence left at least 1,300 people dead and over 600,000 others displaced. Many of the IDPs who are living in camps have since been compensated and relocated. And now, the Naivasha group is asking for equality for the integrated IDPs.
Wakapewa 35,000 ambao si wa Kidong, wakajengewa manyumba, wakarudi wakapewa shamba 2.5, wakapewa shilingi 1,400. Sisi IDP wa Kidong tulikuwa tumekaa tu tunaangalia. Ndio sasa tunajiulizanga, kuna IDP wa white na wa black.
The Nakuru County Commander Erastus Mboi called for dialogue to end the decade-long stalemate.
Our agenda now is to tell those who are out of their places to show us where they were so that we can get them back. As even we consider if anybody could have taken their money.
Reporting for TV 47 from Naivasha in Nakuru County, I'm Willie Dennis Njiru.
Now, the Salvation Army Church in Kiminini, Trans Nzoia County has been demolished by one of the worshippers who had donated his piece of land for construction of the place of worship. And as Boniface Barasa now reports, the church members claim they had paid some 300,000 shillings for the piece of land.
What was once a church is now a heap of rubble, with worshippers still coming to terms with the incident, which they term as unfortunate. They have accused the owner of the land, Justice Wabwile, of insincerity, saying he handed over the piece of land in good faith.
Hatujui kama kuna court order within, hatujui kama kuna yeyote ambaye alijulishwa linapomolewa siku ya leo, na baadhi ya washiriki ambao tuko nao hapa hata na wao wanashangaa kwa nini kanisa hili limebomolewa. Hata nami ninashangaa. Kwa hivyo ni jambo ambalo ni la aibu kwa watu ambao tunajiita waamini kufanya jambo kama hili.
Tunalaani kitendo hiki, maana si kitendo cha Mungu. Tumelaani sana hata wale walioingia na kubomoa kanisa la Mungu.
They say the church management gave him over 300,000 shillings towards the expansion of the place of worship after he handed over the piece of land in good faith. They wonder why he has gone against the agreement they made.
Kuna mwenye shamba alikuwa ametoa zawadi, ametoa sehemu yake ya shamba kama sehemu kwa Mungu ili watu wa Mungu waweze kuomba hapa. Pia kukapatikana ya kwamba palionekana ni padogo. Washiriki pia walichanga pesa zao shilingi 1,380 wakamuongezea, na nikakuja nikaona kweli wakaongeza hapo nyuma sehemu kusema ya kwamba sasa kanisa litaendelea kuwa mahali hapa.
Our efforts to get to Wafula for his side of the story hit a snag. Area Chief Sami Haemba called on the worshippers to be patient as police are getting to the bottom of the matter to ascertain if the piece of land was legally surrendered to the church.
Ili jambo tunasuluhishwa. Tumeongea na bwana OCPD, tumeongea na bwana OCS, tumeongea na bwana ACC kwamba tukutana wote ili tuweke mwisho pamoja, tujue kama ni mahali kanisa la mishwa litenda mahali gani.
For now, the 200 worshippers have been left wondering where they will hold their Sunday service. Boniface Barasa, TV47, Kiminini Sub-County, Trans Nzoia County.
Well, it's time to take a quick look at what is happening in the world of sports, and our sportsman, Dennis Otieno, is on standby on the other side of the studio. Good evening, Dennis. What do you have for us this evening?
Well, good evening to you too, Musa Salah. Now, tonight we shall be telling you about the results registered in the FKF Premier League, which resumes after 2 months of suspension. We shall also be telling you about the men's national rugby sevens team, the Shujaa, and what they're up to in South Africa. Now, this and more coming up.